All right, welcome to week 24. We're going to talk about customer service. This is the second part in the series. There's going to be two videos. We're going to talk about customer satisfaction and rounding out your customer service program in the second video. So, first video is going to be all about customer satisfaction. First and foremost, what is customer satisfaction? Well, it's a very subjective metric to measure, but there is a way to quantify it. So we're talking about people's opinion of your business, and that's hard to really to judge in terms of numbers, but there is a way to do it. But it's the customer satisfaction percentage is just a simple ratio of what you delivered versus what the customer's expectation was. It's a simple ratio, a little more complicated to calculate that. The fun part about this is trying to determine what either of those things really are, because we are dealing with people. So there's no finite or exact way to determine what you delivered in terms of customer satisfaction and what they actually were expecting. And what you could have delivered was friendly service, but the customer was in a bad mood and perceived it as you being condescending. And so that's being able to read your customer, read your crowd, et cetera, so that you're delivering what the customer really expects of you to deliver. And you made it clear that certain products or services were included in what you sold, but the customer had an idea in their head of something else. So this is another way where that variance between what you deliver versus what the customer expects is something that you need to think about. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because if the customer thinks that you're only going to deliver a product, but you go above and beyond and you give them the handwritten note and call them afterwards to see how it worked out or whatever it is, like that could be a better, above. You could have over what they, expected versus what you delivered. Or you delivered over what they expected. Yeah, that's more like it. But it's a hard thing to measure because it's critical to know where you stand as a customer-centric business. So what you deliver is, like that could be in your mission statement and your value proposition, whatever. But what people expect you to deliver is going to be, again, could be something totally different. So if you don't think that you can measure something like customer satisfaction, in 2 weeks, week 26, we're going to tell you how to measure everything. So there is definitely a way to measure it. It's, it's going to be an estimation. You're going to have to use some logic in there to justify your measurements, but you can definitely do it. But before we get into measuring, we need to talk about a couple things. First, you need to clearly define what it is that you sell, using pictures, ample descriptions, reviews, everything that you can think of, so that there's no confusion as to what that customer is going to get. So there should be no surprises, no bad surprises when you deliver. Good surprises are always a good thing, but just remember, if you do that all the time, that now becomes part of what the customer expects. And if you don't do it, then you're going to deliver below what their expectations are. And, this goes for your staff. So in part one of customer service, they need to really understand what it is that they're selling, so that there's no question of what it is. If I deal with one person in your company versus another person in your company, I should be getting the same level of service from both of those people. Their approach to it might be different, but the level of service should be the same. With your customers, you want to set expectations and boundaries ahead of time. So you want to have business hours, obviously, especially if you have a brick and mortar business, and you want to stick to those business hours. And you can kind of deviate as long as you're communicating, any kind of changes in what you're delivering to your customers, but to make sure there's ample communication. You want to set some expectations for your whoever's handling customer service in terms of like reply times, sticking to refund policies at a bare minimum. And again, that's the no surprises, but there could be good surprises. So no bad surprises. We like good surprises. And you want to be consistent in what you deliver. So the part one, we talked about knowing your brand and knowing who your customer is. And shopping habits have become more about liking the brand and buying at the click of a button rather than just experiencing the brand. So I like you. I like what it is that you deliver. I like your product. I just want to click it. Like, I might not want that experience. And that's kind of the direction that we're going, especially with so much online shopping happening right now. And just to kind of give you an idea, like, there's a reason why chain restaurants are popular. And despite everybody they like to rag on Applebee's. Applebee's delivers the exact same thing no matter where you go in the country. Doesn't mean that you like what they deliver, but for some people who aren't picky eaters, then they just want consistency. They know that if they go to, Los Angeles, or if they're in Boston and they go to an Applebee's, they're going to get the same experience, the same food, the same experience, etc. And that's kind of what you want to deliver. You don't want to be Applebee's. You don't want to be Applebee's, but you want to be consistent. So that's the point of what that's what I'm driving at right now. The things that you want to measure, and again, we're going to talk about what you can measure, and then we're going to get into actually measuring them in a later week. But some of the things to think about right now. So reviews, these are easy to view, capture, share. If you're on Amazon or Google or whatever, it's going to be star based. So it's going to be a 1 out of 5, or a out of 5 kind of star ranking, and anything that's on a scale makes measuring easier. It's going to be, again, like what I think a 3 is might be different than what you think a 3 is. So again, there's still some subjectivity to it, but it makes it easy for you to measure. Customer testimonials are something that's easy to view, but they're a little more subjective because they're not, 1 out of, or 4 out of 5 stars or whatever it is. But they can also be candid. And for me, especially, and people who might be a little more questioning of businesses, is like, if it just says John H. from Cleveland said this, who's John H? I don't have anything that really proves that there's a John H. in Cleveland that you did business with. So if you can add any kind of corroborating evidence to it, links to websites, business names, etc., that would be helpful to kind of give your testimonials a little more credit. Social media likes and feedback. These are, they can be a little bit harder to gauge in some places, and you can spend a lot of time tracking them down, especially if you're on multiple social media sites. There are services that are available to do that for you, but they cost money based upon your how much you value your social media, and the opinion of you on social media really dictate whether or not you pay for that. Customer interactions are great because you get, that face-to-face time, even if it's not actually face-to-face, if it's on a phone, or even through Zoom, whatever it is. Email questionnaires are great. You might want to be a little hesitant to put too much value in those, because for the most part, you're going to get advocates and haters replying to those emails. Nobody in the middle, very few people in the middle are going to be replying to those. And polling your employees, that just talking to your staff about what they're hearing from customers, that's a great way to kind of gauge and measure what, like how good your customer service is. And I mean, lastly, just get creative. I mean, I'm sure you can think of many ways that you could measure your customer service program, how, the customer satisfaction, how well you deliver, et cetera. Just start thinking about different ways to measure, and we are going to get into measuring a little bit later.